With the recent play of Josh Giddey and Coby White has led many Bulls fans to wonder what the future of this backcourt's going to be. And A, can the Chicago Bulls afford to lock in both of the talented guards? After an article by Joe Cowley calling the talented backcourt a $70 million backcourt, I want to look at some of the other backcourts in the NBA, how expensive they can be, and what the Chicago Bulls should do when it comes to the contracts. We're going to talk about all that, plus dive into the mailbag and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And there's sometimes with this, right, that I feel like there's a responsibility, and not every content creator that views it this way, and that's perfectly fine. It's the way that I view it, right? Like, a lot of fans don't have the time, the effort, or really the desire to really kind of understand the salary cap or anything like that. They just know, hey, I heard that the Bulls are going to such and such, what the money look like. They want to know. They want somebody to kind of make it a little bit more clear for them, right? And I feel like this is one of those situations. A lot's been made basically since we traded for Josh Giddey, what his future contract could come out with. We've heard that he wants Jalen Suggs type money, which is a player that was drafted, I think, one spot before him. And that's around $30 million annual average value, right, on the contract. And so that's already been something that has caused a stir in the Bulls community. A, is Josh Giddey worth the $30 million? B, is can the Bulls afford to give him $30 million? C, some people immediately going to, well, the Zach LaVine contract made us restricted. And I think you got to look at what and where the Bulls are right now, right? Now, I've tried to do a pretty good job. I'm not saying that I've done a perfect job at anytime the Josh Giddey contract comes up, and that's a conversation piece that pops up. I've talked about it from a few different angles. A, if the Bulls did want to, for Josh Giddey kind of find the value somewhere else and they match the deal, I don't see that as a slap in the face. It helps the organization and the player kind of understand where their value is viewed around the league. I think some people look at that as like, oh, is that a slap in the face to Josh Giddey? I think it's business. I think people understand it was business. I always go back to when Zach LaVine was a restricted free agent, and he signed his offer sheet with Sacramento, which, weirdly enough, we ended up trading him to like 5 years later. But when he ended up signing that offer sheet with Sacramento, one of the things that they worked into that was injury provisions, right? Especially at that time, Zach LaVine was only basically 1 year removed from an ACL injury, right, that he had before we traded for him. And so, that helped, clear the air of like the Bulls were asking for injury provisions. No, the Kings put that in there, right? So that shows you that other teams around the league were also concerned about that. Now, I'm not saying injuries when it comes to Josh Giddey. I'm just saying that it can help both sides realize that maybe what the other side is asking for isn't necessarily something that other teams around the league wouldn't ask for or be willing to do in case of the favor of the player, right? So I look at it that way. Now, I do think that Josh Giddey, in the way that he's played since the All-Star break, definitely should be another data point that the Bulls should absolutely look at in regards to how they value and if they just want to go ahead and lock him in, right? Now, there have been some Josh Giddey fans like that, and again, stands more than fans. Oh, well, Josh Giddey's price went up. Listen, no, understand that there's a max value that Josh Giddey can even get on a rookie scale extension, and the things that would qualify him from a supermax, which is number of All-Star games, a name to or MVP award, he hasn't qualified for any of those. So let's be clear, there's only a certain amount of money that Giddey could get anyway, right? But with that said, is that the value of Giddey's contract, I look at this with everyone. This isn't even a Josh Giddey thing. This also can apply for Coby White. I'm talking about the backcourt overall here, not just Josh Giddey necessarily. So overall, and every player, a player what they're playing at their height and is not necessarily who they're going to be every single season. Like Billy Donovan said it last time, we read the quote, it's hard to maintain that level. Who they are at their worst, you can't try to make that who they are either. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle there. Now, it could be more geared towards the high or more geared towards the bottom, depending on the caliber of player that it is, but you never want to make a decision based just off the best that a player played, right? You want to get it somewhere in between there. And But it's interesting when it's young players, especially when rookie scale extensions, right? Because that value, especially a player that's 22 and Josh Giddey, the chances that they continue to develop and they hit the higher parts of their best is astronomical, right? So there's that part of it. Now, to loop this all back, because it's not just about Josh Giddey, it's about Coby White as well. Coby, who's on a very team-friendly contract of a little over $12 million, reportedly, because of the 140% extension rule, he's going to go to unrestricted free agency. He's going to, get to that to sign a new deal. Now, some irresponsible podcasters, and I'm not going to call out any names here if you watch them, they keep talking about that 140% contract as if it's this thing where all of a sudden Coby White's going to get some super max, which the Bulls can't afford, so let's trade him now. That's disingenuous. It just means that he gets more money. You can give him more on a contract extension when he becomes an unrestricted free agent than you can give him because you're restricted by extension rules on how much that you can give him, right? And Coby as well, with the way that he's playing, especially now, his agency is probably definitely informing him, hey, we're going to go to That doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to walk. Still doesn't mean that the Bulls can still offer him the most money, right? And so that brings us to the conversation, right? Joe Cowley had an article in which he called Coby and Josh a $70 million backcourt. $40 million contract extension for Coby White in unrestricted free agency, a $30 million contract, a rookie scale extension with Josh Giddey in restricted free agency, right? That's basically the numbers that he's using to get there. And the question that's here, and this is not to trigger anybody. This is just to have an objective conversation, right? If you're going to pay $70 million for your backcourt, you better be fully invested and fully sure. Now, the benefit of that, and the thing that I said that I wanted to add clarity on, I think a lot of fans don't understand, is that the Bulls aren't in the same financial situation that they were in when they had Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic, to where they were right up against the luxury tax. Technically, the Bulls can give a $40 million contract to Coby, a $30 million contract extension to Josh Giddey, and still have almost $80 million in cap space at the end of the 2026-27 season. So it's still, that money is still, like, the Bulls aren't nearly as close to the luxury tax line as what they were before, right? So, and I made this thing before, I'm not saying that these players will get these contracts. I'm saying that even if the Bulls gave $30 million to Josh, $30 million to Coby, $30 million to Io, the Bulls would still have over $60 million in cap space that you can play around, which means that could be your Trey Jones extension, right? Because, again, even though it's happening before then, I'm just saying they'll still have that money available then. That's your Dalen Terry extension on a rookie scale extension if you decide to do so, right? That's that type of money. And on top of, you get Lonzo off the books, things like that. So the Bulls are, for the first time, really, in probably right before the Derrick Rose era, the Bulls' financials are pretty clear, mainly because they have no contracts over $20 million other than Vooch. So once you move off from that, you don't have that, right? You have no long-term money. We have no players. We have 5 players under contract after the 2026 season. So there's that flexibility that you have there as well. You still have guys like Modest that are going to be a rookie scale deals. Your draft pick of this year is going to be on a rookie scale deal, right? So you have this money potentially that you can have where you have the flexibility, right? So it's not a question on if they can pay the $70 million. They can. And that $70 million will still not put them in a place to where they are so restricted that they have no flexibility. No, they could still offer some pretty decent contracts to bring some role players in here or aging vets or whatever they want to do, right? The Bulls, I want to be clear here, the Bulls' salary, financial situation on the out going forward looks really damn good. Really damn good. The only way that would really deter that, right, is if they trade for or sign another, like a DeMar DeRozan deal where you're signing an aging vet and giving them a huge amount of money. But even then, like I said, they got a little bit of that buffered in, right? So the Bulls, now that we've cleared that, the Bulls have the salary cap money to give Coby, to give Josh Giddey these extensions that Joe Cowley's talking about in this interview, and they still have money for Io, Trey Jones, Dalen, Julian's contract extensions as they come up. They still would technically have that. So again, here, Hayes is telling y'all, chill on worrying about the money and the restrictiveness of it. The Bulls have plenty of cap flexibility. So there you go there. And also, one thing that we got to talk about also is that anybody who constantly goes to the Zach LaVine contract, in fact, we couldn't move it because of injury concerns. If Zach LaVine didn't have the injuries he had over his career, his performance, the Bulls would have been able to move. Hell, before one of the major injuries he had, the New York Knicks offered 2 or 3 first-round picks, 2 of those being unprotected. So just calm down on the broad comparisons to the Zach LaVine situation. It's not as bad as the Zach LaVine situation, but I do understand concerns. Here's why I understand the concerns. If you're going to pay $70 million for a backcourt, like I said, you better be damn well believe that backcourt you can win with. Now, again, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm just saying that that's what the Bulls, they have to be willing to believe. They have to believe that they can win with it, and they have to be willing to continue to flesh out the team to maximize their strengths. But look at some of the other backcourts in the NBA. The Celtics pay $50 million for that backcourt of Derek White and Drew Holiday, right? The New York Knicks of Brunson and Bridges paid $47 million for their backcourt, right? Both of those considerably less than the $7 million. Some backcourts that are close to what the Bulls backcourt could get, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, $70 million, right? You look at that, they have, if I'm not mistaken, with them on the court, they have an almost 60% win percentage over their career together, right? That's taken out last season because Ja really didn't play last season. But when they're on the court together, they have almost 60% win percentage. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, one of the best backcourts in the league, $71 million, right? So if you're in the $70 million range, that instantly makes you one of the most expensive backcourts in the league. James Harden and Chris Dunn, $38 million. Now, Chris Dunn is most of that's going to Harden. Chris Dunn's on a vet minimum contract. You got SGA and Lou Dort, $51 million backcourt, right? Jamal Murray, Christian Braun with the Denver Nuggets, $39 million backcourt, which most of that money's going to Jamal Murray. Christian Braun's on a rookie scale deal. You got Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, a $55 million backcourt with the Los Angeles Lakers. Again, that just came together at this trade deadline. They still got to flesh out that team to make that team make more sense. But I say that to say this. A $70 million backcourt is a huge investment. And it can't just be investment in potential. It has to also be an investment over how much do you think we can really win with paying these guys that much money. And we'll see. Right now, they're playing themselves right now into where those deals are going to look like steals. And hopefully that stays up for this team. But the Bulls do have to look at that and just, again, not because they don't have the money, but because of the investment. And you got to make sure that you are willing then to continue to invest in that backcourt, not with money, but with the way that you build out the team. And then you also have to factor in, that's just starting backcourt money. If you re-sign Ayo, you still got Lonzo here. If you re-sign Trey Jones, like you're starting to factor those into to where you're getting towards a possibly $80, $90 million backcourt payment, right? With Ayo Dosunmu. So you got to be really, really comfortable in what you're doing there. And so we'll see what the Bulls end up doing. Like I said, the money is not, and the biggest reason why I wanted to talk about this, and I love that Joe Cowley came out with this article, is that it gives me a talking point, is that I think that there's some, I'm not saying all Bulls fans, because there's some that are there are some probably more in tune with salary cap than even me, right? But for the general Bulls and basketball fan, ain't got time to be looking at salary cap and who's what, where, when, and how. So that's why I'm here. But all right, the Bulls do have a game today against the Dallas Mavericks, and the Mavericks team has been playing much better. They have won 3 out of the last 4 games, and they're 3-2 in their last 5. Over those last 5 games, they are 14th in net rating at 2.6. They are 18th in offensive rating, 14th in defense, 8th in true shooting percentage, 8th in effective field goal shooting percentage. So this is a team that, while their record, and we know that they've been struggling, with Anthony Davis back, and since they found their balance here, this is a team that is playing much better, right? And so the Bulls cannot come into this one lacking or thinking that they got it just because they're facing off against the Dallas Mavericks. You cannot afford to do that tonight. And if you do, you're going to get your head kicked in, right? Now, one thing about this Bulls team is that they don't seem like they've been taking anybody lightly. They've been putting it all out there on the court. That's what I love to see about this team. So they're going to have to put it all out there on the court again against this Dallas Mavericks team, a team that just beat Orlando on Thursday. They got a couple of days rest, or a day rest, and now they're going to be facing off in Chicago today. So let's hope that the Bulls can take care of business today. We're going to have to see what we've been. That's solid execution, playing as a team, keeping your heads up, limit turnovers while taking advantage of rebounds, pushing the break where you can, and just playing as a team. And if the Bulls do that, I think that we're in store for some good play for the Bulls tonight and an exciting game. Anthony Davis is back. Like I said, the team has been playing much better since he's come back. You've had Marshall and Hardy with big games as well. So let's see what the Bulls and the Mavericks are going to bring today. Excited about this game. Maybe no pregame show today, but I will be here for a postgame show. So stay locked in and in tune with us for that. With that said, let's go ahead and get into the mailbag. It is Saturday. That means it is mailbag day. This one's from JB.
Hey, Brother Hayes. This is JB from Evanston. I haven't call in a while. I've been pretty busy with a lot of things. I had surgery and a couple of things. But anyway, just a few things to get right to the point. I'm really happy, man, to see quality basketball again with the Chicago Bulls. To see team play, to see maximum effort, to see players hustling and really just playing together as a team. Although I'm a Bulls fan, I'm really a fan of quality basketball. I hate bad basketball, man, and that gets me to my next point. I would rather see the Bulls playing in the great way that they're playing now instead of playing for a draft pick. I will not deny that, hey, look, I would love to see us draft high, but I think it's more important for the organization to really, wherever we land in the draft, to really do their, really prioritize, really great scouting, because this is a deep draft. There's a lot of talent in this draft. And wherever we land, even if we make the playoffs, I really believe we could get some quality talent out of this draft with it being so deep. And the second thing, I really want to say that I'm really happy how the Zach LaVine trade really worked out for us, particularly with the players that we've gotten. I love Kevin Harter. I love having a big like Collins. That's something that we really needed. And also, man, I really love Trey Jones. I hope that he could stay with us, but I really believe that we really did really well with that trade. So lastly, I just want to say that I'm really in a good place as a Bulls fan right now. I'm excited and really looking forward to hopefully a bright future for our team, because I think we're really finally going in the right direction. And I really, as always, I'm going to be a fan no matter what. So anyway, thank you for all the great work that you do for us. I mean, really, I thought I knew a lot about basketball before, but I actually have learned a lot from you, and I'm highly appreciative of that, brother. So have a great day, and thank you for giving me the time to express my thoughts. Peace, JB.
Playing quality basketball over playing for a draft, that could be one of the best quotables that we've ever gotten on this show for me or anyone else, period. Playing quality basketball over playing for a draft pick, I completely agree with you, right? And seeing, and that's the thing that's more sustainable, right? Like, I get it, and I understand the allure of just, oh, well, we want to be in the top four, we want to get one of these guys, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, we want one of those guys. Absolutely, I would love those guys on the team. But if they're not joining a team that it isn't playing well, it doesn't matter, right? So the Bulls, and especially it becoming because of our young pieces, right? Like, it's not like it's DeMar DeRozan that's keeping us afloat, right? It's Josh, it's Coby, right? They're the driving forces behind this. The good play that we have, especially when Trey Jones is playing as well, but even Modest Busilis, even Dalen and Julian showing things at times. Hell, last game, Patrick Williams was a key part defensively and offensively in that last win over the Lakers. So, yeah, I'd rather see the quality basketball being played over than us playing for a draft pick, right? Great quote there. As far as the scouting is very important, and something that I think we don't look at enough, and I know I don't talk about enough, is the importance of scouting. Scouting is hugely important. You got to be able to scout correctly. And I think that sometimes is even more important than draft position, right? So if you can scout correctly, you can find those guys, find the value, right? I've said it like this before over on Bear Central. I'll say it here too. The key thing is every draft you want to find actual value. If you can get value out of every draft pick that you have, right? Whether that's a player that ends up turning into a really good role player, or that's a player that you draft later ends up being a pretty solid starter for you. You want to find quality. Where you start falling back in the franchise drafting-wise is when you keep drafting guys that eventually don't make or cut your rotation and you move off of them 3-4 years later. That's what really dooms a franchise in regards to drafts. You got to be able to find the quality in that, and that is due to quality scouting and development once you get those guys in here, which I think is another part in that as well. But great voicemail, JB. Completely agree with you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Michael Korn.
Hey, good evening. Hey, it's Michael Korn here. I was listening to what you're saying about the Bulls OKC trade, and we won that trade against Caruso. Just want to point out something that you've, a number of times have pointed out, that, judge a trade like after it happens and after a little bit more time and then even after a little bit more time. And let's see at the end of the playoffs if Caruso's helping the Thunder winning a championship by his play. I'm sure the Thunder fans will say, hey, we got the better deal here. But I think this does reflect that, it's a good trade for both teams. And speaking of OKC, I'm stoked. I'm going to be going to see the Bulls in OKC. Some colleagues and customers who said, hey, there's a chance that you want to come out to do a playoff game. And I said, hell, screw that. And I'd love to see the Bulls play, especially Josh Giddey coming home to OKC and seeing what kind of reaction he gets. And I think the thing I love about going to a basketball game, and you see so much more, I do at least, than when I watch on TV. And what I saw Bulls playing the 76ers right after the All-Star break, I saw a different Bulls team out there. They won by 30, and everyone was like, oh, okay, fine, it was against 76ers, big deal. But I saw the beginning of the emergence of who they are now at that time. Especially even Billy Donovan, just watching him, like talking to the team, and players were close to him, and they seemed to really like him. In any case, hopefully he continues to coach better. You pointed out a number of times. The very last thing I want to say is something new. Yesterday on the exercise bike, I wanted to follow the Bulls game and don't have a TV down where I exercise. And I put on Pat the Designer, and that was wonderful. Jerome Holtzman once said, no cheering from the press box. He was like a reporter for either Chicago Sun-Times or Tribune, I forget, and then later was a baseball historian, and he said that. But I gotta tell you, man, listening to Pat the Designer was like great announcing, and with the fire of a Bulls fan. Loved it. And I'll try to tune in more and figure out how to subscribe. Hey, so love the content, man, and go Bulls. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you always want to judge a trade 3 times. It's always what I say, right? You judge it initially about how you feel about the return. You judge it the second time about a year or a year and a half afterwards, and then another time 3 to 5 years down the road to kind of find out the results of everything, right? So you're right. If Caruso helps them win a title, great. But the way I look at it is this too. Like, you also have to value the team. Caruso is a luxury for the OKC Thunder. Like, they have so many wing defenders that are down there that if they didn't have Alex Caruso, they'd still be one of the best defenses in the league, right? Now, the thing that I look at this and why I did say, no, I think the Bulls did win this is because the Bulls have no one that brings what Josh Giddey brings. Nobody that brings what Josh Giddey brings. The closest you could say to that is maybe Lonzo with his facilitating and stuff like that, but he can't stay healthy. He's never been able to stay healthy. So you really can't count on that to bring that. And he does have better defense than Josh Giddey as well. So I think that ultimately, when it comes down to it, is that, yeah, you gotta, what Josh Giddey's bringing to this team is the value there is crazy, and I don't think anybody replaces that. So there you go on that one. As far as you go into games, hey, listen, live games are live games for a reason. You see so much more, and I think that is an important thing. Like, you see the interaction between the coaches and the players. You see the players on the sideline, how they hype each other up, those type of things, and that adds so much kind of better understanding over where this team is, and this team is playing like an actual team that enjoys each other, playing for each other, and that is invaluable as well. All right, let's get into this next one. This one's from Josh.
What's going on, Hayes? This is Josh out in Arizona. I go by King J in the chat. First time caller here. Okay, and my question was for today was is the Bulls' future really as dark as people make it? I think I just recently seen a video by Rusty Buckets, another basketball creator on YouTube. All respect to bro. He can be pretty critical with the Bulls, and in his last video though, he mentioned that they're being successful, but he doesn't really care for it because of the long-term future and implications of what the results of this season may show. Kenny for the real, I think, had a video on a similar subject as well. I see everybody going crazy over these picks and whatnot, where we get in the draft and whatnot, because the Bulls are winning too much and what. But I think like when you got players like Coby White, and Josh Giddey, who both have had amazing resurgences since the All-Star break, I think there's a little hope in that. Both have had stretches of games where they've been mentioned in the likes of Michael Jordan and other great names in NBA history. And I think that should give a little credence, I would say, to why we should have a little bit of hope for the future. With Coby and his stretch of even over 20 plus games, and then Giddey almost scoring a quadruple double and almost averaging basically a quadruple double right now. I think we got two guys plus Modest that could be a core that can definitely get better towards the future. Coby's scoring is much more efficient now. Plus the amount of times that he gets to the foul line, I think he could get to that like Shea Gilgeous tier of like scoring at the foul line. And if we have a scorer like that, plus a guy like Giddey who can facilitate things on the floor, I don't know, man. I just think that could be something you definitely.
I definitely think the Bulls' future is a lot brighter than many of us Bulls fans thought coming into the season, right? And I think that's really good. And from a talent perspective, we are much farther ahead than what people were thinking. Now, here's the thing. The thing that comes into question about this is how does the front office continue to develop and add talent to this roster? Because this roster isn't a championship caliber. Or hell, this roster right now isn't even necessarily a roster that can win a first-round playoff series. So you still have to add to it. And I think that's the piece that is still uncertain. We have talent on this roster. I think a lot of us said that and knew that, right? Now seeing that talent develop, we now know that we have even more than what we initially thought. The bigger question is how do we still continue to add and develop so we can get over that hump, right? That's the next question here. The Bulls haven't won a playoff series in almost a decade. We need that. And how we get there, that's the biggest question here. But yeah, the future is bright here. It's a lot brighter than what some people will have you say, even unfortunately, some Bulls content creators will have you say, have you think. And I think we just got to uncover it and see where we can really get to with that. I think that's a big thing there, and we'll see. All right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Mello.
Yo, what up, Hayes? This is Mello. Just want to get your POV again on something. Seeing as how the Bulls are playing better ball now and everything like that, and things are starting to round out. First of all, it's been a lot of shade coming to Bulls where you're like, oh, this might be just a flash in the pan or whatever the case is. I personally disagree because it's not like it's just one person that's playing good since the All-Star break. It's multiple players that are playing good. You got Modest playing better. Giddey is playing better. Coby is playing better. Shit, even Dalen is actually playing better. And a lot of that has to do with Billy Donovan. I'm going to give him respect, because he's coaching better and everything like that. And in the off season, they definitely got to move Vooch. He doesn't fit anything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all were right when y'all spoke about that on the show the other day. But I want to get your opinion. Since the Bulls are playing a lot better, and obviously they're not going to be in the lottery, and they get a lower pick in the first round. If they go for a center in the draft, what do you think of the kid from Michigan if he actually does fall that far? Because he's been playing good ball in the tournament, so he might trend upward. But the guy, Daniel Wolf, what do you think about him? Just want to get your opinion on that. And lastly, man, shout out to you. Like, you are killing it on Bull Central. I saw the other day on another podcast, and I'm going to name the podcast, CHGO, who literally said that the Bulls should only give Giddey a 1-year prove-it deal so that way they can see that he's legit for an entire season. That is the biggest load of bullshit I ever heard in my life. And I saw that, and I was like, see, this is why Hayes is just so much better than everybody else. He actually has sense. These dudes
that had to be clickbait. But shout out to you, man. Keep doing what you do. Seabird.
Hold up. I got to correct you here. We can't say yet that the Bulls won't have a lottery pick, right? Because let's be clear. Just because they make the play-in, it doesn't mean they won't have a lottery pick. If they make it out the play-in, they win that tournament, they actually go to the playoffs, then they won't have a lottery pick. So right now, the Bulls are still slated to have a lottery pick. That would change if the Bulls win the play-in tournament. We'll see what happens there. Again, keep in mind, a team like the Hawks last year was in the play-in. They didn't make it out. They won the number 1 overall pick. So the Bulls still right now are slated to have a lottery pick, so I don't think we can assume that they won't. But if they don't make the lottery, a guy like Danny Wolf is absolutely a guy that I wouldn't mind the Bulls drafting at all. There are going to be some talents that fall. There are going to be some players that fall right outside that lottery. And that's where the Bulls, if they do make the playoffs, that's where they're going to be, right outside that lottery. So there is that chance that they can still get some really good right outside the lottery talent. And in this draft, that's almost lottery talent in almost any other draft. So a guy like Danny Wolf has tremendous upside. I do think he could be somebody that rises in the draft combine, but if he does not, 7 foot, 250 pounds. That's your Vooch Jokic-ish type player here, right? But I think he's more athletic than those guys. The shot blocking that he would bring, the ability to stretch the floor is developing as a three-pointer. You look at how he's developed from Yale to going to Michigan. I like Danny Wolf a lot, and I wouldn't be mad if the Bulls end up a legit 7-footer, a center prospect. The question is, can he get out there and run that pace that the Bulls like to run? We'll see, but I wouldn't be mad at Danny Wolf at all. I like Danny Wolf a lot as a prospect, actually. Let's get into this last voicemail, man. This one's from Reggie.
Hey, this is Reginald. I just got done seeing your video about Lonzo Ball having his return date pushed back by another week. And I'm not even surprised. I'm not disappointed. It's just typical. And I kind of get the frustration Pat has with the Bulls organization by giving Lonzo Ball an extension. But to be honest, I'm not fully mad at the fact that they did, because at the time we didn't know what Trey Jones was going to be. If we do, Lonzo Ball would already be gone. And as for what to do with his contract next year, at $10 million, it's not that hard to move. I could already see a team like Charlotte, just to make LaMelo happy, offering their number 33rd pick for Lonzo Ball and willing to, eat the whole $10 million. And frankly, I'd take that deal. I know you said that they may have had a first round offer, before, the trade deadline. I'm assuming there were conditions on it, but, it is what it is. In fact, if I could talk to Minnesota, who's also in the looking for a point guard, I'd offer Ball for TSJ and no picks included, just to see what they do with it. But hey, like I said, getting off the contract wouldn't be hard, and if you get off this contract, it will be that much easier to re-sign Trey Jones. And at that point, the Bulls will probably have the deepest backcourt in the NBA, or at least in the NBA East, because you would have 4 starting caliber guards with guys like, Julius Phillips and Dalen Taylor at 3. They're all young, they're all talented, and the city of Chicago always loves its guards. It's always been we're a guard city, or a guard franchise, really. So hey, stuff for Lonzo Ball, but hopefully the Bulls can do something with him in the offseason. But thanks for hearing me out.
Zoe's contract is not that bad as far as the financials of it. Getting off the contract, I mean, yeah, but the Bulls haven't really been good at dumping off contracts before. We'll see if they need to. If you can get TSJ back, that'd be crazy. I don't know how much Minnesota values him, because they don't really use him a lot, but he has had some big games for them. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, here's what I'll say. Listen, Zoe's contract, it is what it is. The hindsight is always 20/20. The Bulls didn't necessarily know that Trey Jones would fit in this well or play this well that he has with this team. But if they can find a way to keep him, like I've said too many times before, I don't think anybody is going to say, hey, no, let's not keep that Trey Jones kid. He's been playing that good that if he's in a Bulls uniform again next year, I'm all for it. So we'll see what the future does hold for Trey Jones. If it is in a Bulls uniform, I'm not going to be mad at it. As far as Lonzo, you guys know my feelings on Lonzo Ball. It's unfortunate. I love Lonzo as a player. When he's on the court, I love him. But at this point, you really can't bet on him to be on the court. You just can't. So, we'll see what happens there. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like we like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.